everyone, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on UpNorthLive Unscripted. Happy Monday, but happy Veterans Day, and just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for not only all of our veterans who have served our country, but also all of the current active duty military members as well. Thank you so much for your service. And unfortunately, there's a lot of ceremonies that go on Veterans Day. Unfortunately, today was not the best outdoor weather for all of these ceremonies. It's really windy. Some of us saw some rain, a lot of clouds and cooler temperatures. But Joe, you said tomorrow should look a little different.
It will. And I want to offer the same sentiments that you did as well. My sister served in Afghanistan. I want to say thanks to her and everyone else, just like what you mentioned. Yeah. But yeah, it was a little windy. I mean, well, not a little. It was very windy today, Maya. And we're going to see that coming down tonight. And then tomorrow, we're right back to blue skies. So it should be a pretty nice one for tomorrow. We'll take a look at that. A little bit of a chilly night tonight. And when we get more rain, we'll take a look at all that a little later in the show.
All right. Thank you, Joe. And a little later, we are going to show you some different ceremonies that happened around northern Michigan in honor of Veterans Day. But let's start off with our top story of the day, which is out of Leelanau County. And some commission races there are still up in the air. So unofficial results showed last week that several Democrats were in the lead to win over these seats. Well, then on Friday afternoon, the Board of Canvassers noticed some early votes were not added to the online results total that the public gets to see. So our Allie Baxter looked into this and has the full story.
We've just gotten used to thinking that it's going to be gospel that night, and these things happen.
Unlike the last few weeks, there's no one here during the federal holiday at the Leelanau County Governmental Center, except for County Clerk Michelle Crocker. She's barely left since election night.
On the night of the election, the ballots that were tabulated for the early voting site were inadvertently not uploaded to the reports that were posted on the website. That's the simplest explanation. There is no conspiracy here.
At first, it looked like Democrats would take over the majority of board seats, until Friday when the Board of Canvassers noticed the numbers didn't match with hard copy reports.
As soon as it was brought to our attention, we went into the mode of, what do we have to do? This is not look right.
Leelanau wasn't the only county with more ballots to tabulate Friday. Kent, Kalamazoo, and Calhoun counties also had additional votes. There's a spotlight on Leelanau because it changed the outcome of highly contested races.
And to make those calls was difficult because I knew how it could impact these people who had been, in some cases, celebrating for 48 hours.
The commission race for District 3 between Lois Bailey and Will Bunnick flipped, with Bunnick now leading by just 7 votes.
That was a blow.
Lois tells us the single-digit gap is a good example of why it's so important to vote. Those numbers could change with more ballots from military and overseas expected to arrive by Tuesday.
You take one step at a time and go through the process. And yeah. Getting, upset about it won't help it right now. You just have to take the steps.
Back in her office, Michelle highlights the PSA on Leelanau's election results page, noting the results are unofficial and won't be official until the completion of the checks and balances the Board of Canvassers provides.
We are well aware that we have a lot of people second-guessing us. Watching us and being watched is fine. And we also realize there's praise and there's criticism. It just goes with the job. People want to know what's going on. Do you just wait till every jurisdiction is canvassed before you know? I don't know. But when you're going to put things up, this is a possibility. And that's why that unofficial is so important.
And Allie is joining us live now from our content center with more on the story. Hey, Allie.
Hi, Maya. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. It is so lucky that Michelle was even able to talk to us today because obviously today is Veterans Day. So she knew that this was an important message that she wanted to be able to get out to people to continue to keep people as informed as possible. So we were actually able to connect with her today, even though, like I said at the beginning of the story, it's a federal holiday. There was absolutely nobody at the Leelanau County Governmental Center. It was pretty much just me and Michelle there. And she's been really working on these election results still. We're almost a week into it.
And I think this story really highlights the significance of unofficial election results. So on election night, everyone is looking at websites and looking at the unofficial results, thinking that those are the final results. But this is just a perfect example that they can change. They are still unofficial until approved by canvassers.
Exactly. That is what Michelle said earlier. She's like, these are unofficial. She's like, I want to point out again that right here at the top of our website, it says, kind of like an unofficial asterisk mark of these are unofficial results, because you never know when something like this will happen. This proves that the checks and balances, that not just Leelanau, but every single county in Michigan does this as well. They have a board of canvassers to go back and make sure that, hey, the results that we reported online, they're not matching up with the hard copy reports that we have. And so, I know most people have kind of come out and said, well, this kind of makes me doubt the process. Me personally, it makes me feel more confident in my vote, because now we have seen that this process works, that it did catch those votes that weren't being shown online. And it said, hey, we have these hard copy results as well. We don't see those reflected online, and this may make an impact on those results.
And just to be really clear, these results that weren't showing up online, those are results from early in-person votes?
I don't know about in person, but
Okay.
she did say specifically it is early voting totals that had not been added to the ones that were already on the website.
And do we know when the canvassers will officially approve these results?
It could be as early as Wednesday. They still expect some votes even to come in tomorrow, as long as you have a postmarked ballot for military and overseas voters, as long as it was postmarked by Election Day. They are still expecting they could get a few more votes tomorrow. They say this isn't a crazy amount of votes that they're expecting, but they still do expect some votes, some ballots to come in on Tuesday. And by Wednesday, they actually have a meeting scheduled for Board of Canvassers too. I don't know if it's actually going to officially certify those election results, but I think they're going to go ahead and take care of anything else that they need to do, dot their I's, cross their T's, to see if there's anything else that needs to have a closer look.
And what's interesting with this story too is if this were to happen in a county maybe where there's more people, it maybe wouldn't make as big of an impact. But in Leelanau County, we looked at that county commission seat and the winner was flipped, but it's only by, I think you mentioned 7 votes right now.
Yeah, just 7 votes. And like you just said, Maya, in a bigger county, maybe this wouldn't have made as much of a difference. And we do see that right now happening in Kent and Kalamazoo County, who had the same kind of situation happen, but it didn't change the outcome of their results. And that's why people are taking a little bit of a closer look at Leelanau County, because already those races were really highly contested races. And before it was a 7-vote separation, it was a 141 vote separation. So they were always within, 200 votes of each other. Now we're down to a single digit, which is why I was able to talk to Lois Bailey today to say, hey, your race out of all of these that has flipped, it's probably the most that could be changed still in the next few days. We don't know. And she said that's why I kind of asked her how she was feeling right now. And she said, I'm just taking things in days one step at a time. And I do plan to ask for a recount when I am able to do that. I believe she can't ask for that until the results are officially certified. But she said this is just a great example of it's so important to vote, because your vote and who's, elected official in your community could come down to 7 votes.
Yes. And I think a lot of times people do look at the big picture and think maybe in a presidential race, well, my vote doesn't really matter. But again, this is just another great example that especially in your local races, that every vote is so important and so critical.
Exactly, Maya. And, I've heard this before, but Michelle, the clerk, she kind of verified it for me today. She said that people will come in and they will just vote for the biggest race. They'll vote for the presidential candidate that they want, and they'll leave the rest of that ballot blank. So that's something she explained to me. We're having a hard time, really narrowing down a number of how many votes were added, because they're still having to go through and see, well, we know that a few thousand ballots weren't added to that total, but it's possible there's 100 of those ballots where that person chose not to even vote for a county commissioner. So they're still going through those, making sure that they have everything correct. But like I said, she hasn't left all weekend. She said she worked till 5 p.m. yesterday, and she was back in the building again today.
that's a long work week. That's for
Exactly.
sure.
Never ending, it seems. Definitely from like Tuesday to Tuesday is what it's going to be. But she says they take this really seriously. Her
Sure.
staff takes this really seriously as well. And that's why they took it so personally too when they did realize that, oh my goodness, there are votes that we didn't put online that we actually do have here. And they want to make sure that this is a completely open and transparent process, that they say they have nothing to hide here. They do want to make sure that everybody has all this information, and that the phone calls that they had to make to let those candidates know that what they were seeing online wasn't necessarily what the results were. They said they were really difficult phone calls to make.
Sure. Anything else, Allie, that you want to mention that you think is important to the story that we haven't talked about yet?
I would say, definitely this is something we're going to continue to follow. We plan to be at that Board of Canvassers meeting on Wednesday at 9 a.m. to see, what ultimately ends up being certified, especially with that District 3 race. It's something we're watching closely to see. This is within 7 votes. We know more votes may be coming in tomorrow potentially, and we don't know how that will affect this race. And if it's possible that a recount could be called for that, that's something we'll continue to follow as well.
Thanks, Allie. Thanks so much for joining us and for providing more information on that story. And like Allie mentioned, we will be following the story and we will be bringing you updates as we get them. Now, let's turn things over to Veterans Day and some of the ceremonies that were held around Northern Michigan. I'm sure every community had their own sort of ceremony to honor all of our veterans. But in Kalkaska County, there was a pretty unique ceremony today. It's at a new Veterans Memorial Park that has been in the works for a long time now. We actually shared this story with you for the first time last week. So this is just kind of an update on where plans are for this Veterans Park in Kalkaska County and how folks came out today to not only, again, honor all of our veterans, but to kind of almost cut the ribbon on this new park. So here is Mark Chalette with that full story.
I mean, you can't thank them enough.
But as a way to try and say thanks, Joshua Keel found himself serving lunch today at the VFW in Kalkaska, right alongside his favorite veteran, his mom, Lois.
It's just how we operate.
They run a barbecue food truck, so today they thought it was appropriate to serve those who have served.
You could say thank you 1,000 times and it still wouldn't be enough.
This was a sign of appreciation for that service, but it wasn't the only sign Joshua had in place today.
It was very moving. Very moving.
Before lunch, Joshua and Lois were joined by dozens of others at the dedication of the new Clearwater Township Veterans Memorial Park.
He's been working on it for 1.5 years. He cleared 1.5 miles of trail by himself with a garden lawn tractor and yard tools.
Joshua's been busy over the past 2 years, breathing life into this stalled project, volunteering his time to transform this 80-acre parcel of northern Michigan beauty into a fitting tribute for all of our veterans.
Well, a lot of vets come back and they have a hard time adjusting, and they need that peace, and that's the place that they can get it.
While big additions are in the works for the future, the first step was creating a trail system.
So I knew the trail was going to be called Peace Trail. I didn't know he was going to put a name on it.
Because Joshua, as a surprise to all at this morning's park dedication, unveiled another sign of his appreciation to veterans.
He did not know. And part of it was I thought it'd be a really cool surprise. And part of it was because if she knew, she would have told me not to do it. She's automatically going to tell me that somebody else is more deserving and all of that. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no other veteran that has been more impactful to my life. So she deserves it.
It just makes sense.
And let's turn things over to our question of the day. If you are a veteran or active military, which branch did you serve in or are currently serving in? You can scan the QR code on your screen right now. You can see look at the live results. I do want to take a moment just to recognize some of the folks who commented on our Facebook question of the day, which is the same question. So Julie says she is served in the Navy from 1980 to 1983. Ashley says United States Marine Corps 2006 to 2011. Kelsey says Michigan Army National Guard 5 years. My husband is still active 17 years and counting. Sonia, Navy. Jason, United States Marine Corps. Elon and Phil both said United States Air Force. Floyd says Army from 1965 to 1968. Chloe says, thank you all for your service for this country. Don says U.S. Air Force 1970 to 77. Tony says U.S. Navy from 83 to 87. Chris says Army, and Dottie says Army. So thank you all so much for serving our country and for literally putting your lives on the line for our freedom. It certainly will never go unnoticed, especially on a day like today. So we will take another look at our question of the day a little later, but we are going to take a quick break. We'll check back in with Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix. He'll have much more on your forecast for the rest of the week straight ahead.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
We are starting the work week with a lot of wind. Some of us saw some rain and a lot of clouds and a lot of cooler temperatures. So not the best way to start off the week. I know when I woke up this morning and I looked outside, I just had no motivation to do anything because of the weather. So
Yeah, but you showed up though.
I showed up. Yep, I did the important thing. But, there's a few things I wouldn't mind getting done, but I just need a little sunshine to motivate me.
Well, wake up tomorrow and you'll enjoy some of that, Maya.
Perfect.
This is kind of a one-day system that passed through, but it was very windy. I didn't sleep that great last night, and I could hear about 5, 6 in the morning. I could just hear the wind starting to pick up.
That'll keep you up.
And then, pass through today. Let's take a look. Let's go around Northern Michigan. There's the bridge, downtown Gaylord right now. Our studio is just west of Traverse City and then downtown Cadillac. All pretty wet. It is not as windy as it was earlier today. So the reason we had all the wind is low pressure. You see it there near Toronto. That system kind of slid just northeast of us, east of Lake Superior, moving away. And behind that now high pressure is building in. You get the pressure difference between the low and high pressure. And that led to all the wind that we had. But as that system moves away, we'll see the weather, at least the wind, improving. Frankfurt, topping the list. We had 50-mile-per-hour gusts there earlier today. These are the highest wind reports that we found. A lot of mid-upper 40 range wind gusts earlier. Here's where they stand right now. And Charlevoix is still pretty gusty there, right along Lake Michigan, winds gusting up to 36. And Alpena, winds there also still at 36 miles per hour. But the trend this evening, there's right now. Watch what happens tonight. The winds really start to die off. So we'll see some improvement there. A few showers still around. Let's take a look at our radar right there. Even a couple snowflakes trying to mix in there around Lewiston and Mayo. I don't think we're going to get much. These showers should come to an end. And look at what happens overnight tonight. There's the showers and cloud cover currently. By morning, there's waking up 8, 9 o'clock. Sunshine. And that'll be a nice day. Maya is going to enjoy that tomorrow. For our Tuesday, same thing Wednesday, sunny in the morning, and then we're going to cloud over Wednesday afternoon. Our next chance for rain after this evening, it's right here. That's Thursday. We have some showers coming in during the day Thursday. Extended forecast shows that. Dry tomorrow, dry Wednesday, but Thursday, some light rain rolling in or showers, kind of cloudy. No big major systems, though, coming in. This is a stormy time of the year typically, and no snow either, it doesn't look like, but next chance for rain, Maya, will be Thursday.
Thank you, Joe. We're going to take another quick commercial break, but boy, do we have a lot to talk about in sports. You Lions fans know exactly what I'm talking about. So Sports Director Harrison Beebe will join me in a few minutes and we'll break down all the Lions action. Stay with us. I don't know about you folks, but I am still recovering from that emotional roller coaster that was watching the Detroit Lions versus the Texans game last night. Oh my goodness. Let's bring in Sports Director Harrison Beebe to talk a little bit more about this. And Harrison, we were mentioning a little earlier that this is one of those games that in years past, the Lions would just lose. But this team this year, they are just different, and somehow they came out with a win.
This is one of those games that I don't care if it's the Lions or whoever. This is one of those games that anybody who throws 5 interceptions and is down 2 touchdowns at the half on the road for Sunday Night Football would most likely lose. Yep. Maybe the only other exception might be this year's Kansas City Chiefs that seem to be winning every other game as well. But yes, Jake Bates, the miracle foot of Mr. Bates, going from the USFL or the UXFL, that big minor league football league that started up. He was on the Michigan Panthers in the spring, and now he's the Lions' new golden boy. Apparently, for a few years now, they've been struggling to replace Matt Prater to be a clutch kicker, and Bates gave them 2 phenomenal shots. There's a lot of drama in those. There's about a sliver of an inch room for error there in the 52 and 58 yarders, but he made them both. And it was kind of near his hometown, I understand, right? Mm-hmm. He's around a Houston, Texan native. And so that had to be pretty cool for him. And gives Dan Campbell a lot of confidence because, like him or love him, when Dan Campbell goes for 4th downs, it's certainly controversial for Detroit Lions and their fans. So to know that there's a guy who's more than comfortable to jump up there and hit a 50-plus yarder in a clutch situation, that's got to make everybody in Detroit very happy.
And I'm pretty sure this is the first time a team was down more than 10 points and had 5 interceptions, down more than 10 points in the first half, and then had 5 interceptions to come back and win since 1970.
Yeah, it's one of those long-time statistics that this Lions team keeps breaking down barriers for. So it'll be impressive to see what they do now in the remainder of the year.
Let's talk a little bit high school football.
Yeah, we're running out of time. Of course, the Lions were going to chew up a lot of it. But hey, for our 6 area teams left and 4 games coming up this weekend, this is your lineup for high school football. In the Lakes and Pickford, a good rematch that we can't wait to see on Saturday. Onekama will be against Crystal Falls Forest Park. And Friday night, Petoskey heads to DeWitt. And Boyne City will visit Reed City. And we'll have all those games covered for you here on Up North Live.
Thanks, Harrison. Sorry I didn't give you a lot of time to talk about that. There's just so much to talk about with the Lions right now. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with our question of the day and the live results in just a few minutes.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Today, of course, is Veterans Day, and we want to know if you are a veteran or active military, which branch did you or are you serving in? 38% of our respondents said the Army, 14% say Marine Corps, 18% Navy, 18% Air Force, 1% Space Force, 6% Coast Guard, and 6% National Guard. So no matter what branch you served or are serving in, thank you so much for your service and sacrifice. That'll do it for Up North Live Unscripted. We hope to see you back here tonight at 11 o'clock. Take care, everyone.